Welcome to Taking the Higher Road, a special show dedicated to the trucking industry, specifically at the confluence of recruiting, retention, and compliance. In the fourth year as the host of the show, I bring over 2 decades of industry experience, both on the carrier side as well as the vendor side. And each week I interview industry experts and thought leaders who bring their insight to the driver lifecycle as we discuss the industry's greatest challenges. I always appreciate your feedback, good or bad. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review. I'd also like to thank and highlight the show's valuable sponsors. Their dedication and commitment to the industry and to the show is greatly appreciated. If you're interested in being a sponsor of the show or joining me for an interview, please email Jeremy at takingthehigherroad.com. This week, I'm honored to be joined by a fellow industry entrepreneur, a leader who recognized the opportunity to bring more modern technology to trucking, Nick Darman, founder and CEO of Alvys. Nick, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
Well, I'd love to get into your background. What led you to trucking and transportation, as well as what was the catalyst for building the most modern TMS in the industry. Perhaps you can share a bit about Alvys and what sets you apart, especially in an industry with so much legacy software. I'd also like to get your take on where you think the industry's heading. And then, are we finally going to be heading out of this freight recession? And then how might technology play a role in the recovery and beyond? Do you think we can get through all that today?
Perhaps. That's a lot to unpack.
Well, and just when you think we're just getting started, before we begin, as is the custom, I like to ask my guests if there's a particular book they might recommend to the audience. Is there a book that's been especially impactful to you that you could recommend?
Yeah, one of the books I read a long time ago is Snowball. That's written by Warren Buffett. And while a lot of it talks about his history and how he created his wealth, what I took that was very important to me and for just my career is that inflection point that everyone experiences. Once you reach that flywheel concept, then you just have to support all the pieces that you took forever to build. And when I say forever, it takes so much time to bring so many different things, so many moving parts into a one holistic, experience, and then watch that flywheel take effect. That's what I learned from that book, and I still use that concept of whether you build a particular department or look at even some of the folks that build, professional sports teams. It's all about that flywheel, and a lot of people give up before that inflection point. So one thing that I understood very clearly, we should never give up before that inflection point. We need to actually push so hard to make sure that we get to that inflection point. And once we get to that inflection point, that all of the hard work that we put in for many years will actually pay down dividends.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think I'm not familiar with that book, so I added it. I know the book Good to Great references the flywheel, and that's a book that's referenced fairly consistently on the show. So, and Warren Buffett is, he's the sage of Omaha. So I definitely need to read that one. Thank you for that recommendation. And for those in the audience who aren't familiar, definitely add that to your Goodreads list as well. Nick, you and I first met at an ATA mid-year management meeting in Phoenix, I believe, might have been around 2021. And I noticed that Alvys was sponsoring the opening reception, and you had a team with you. And so I introduced myself, and I just wanted to know more about Alvys and what you were all about. So for those in the audience who may be unfamiliar, who is Nick Darman, and how did you wind up in trucking?
So my history about trucking and how I started in trucking was when I was at Georgia State. I used to live in Atlanta, Georgia, and at that time, my father was driving a truck, and I wanted to help him financially. So I started a trucking company while he bought a truck, and I started to dispatch him while being at Georgia State. And shortly after, some of the folks who recognized my dispatch capabilities, they joined my company, and I was, dispatching them as owner-operators. As soon as I graduated from Georgia State, I decided to pursue my career, on Wall Street. And I moved to New York, took a job at JP Morgan. learned a lot of things while being at JP Morgan, including dealing with different systems, international systems. And after being there for a few years, I realized I'm an entrepreneur at heart and I wanted to go back into trucking. So I started another trucking company. But this time around, I had big goals and I wanted to create more efficiencies, throughout the organization. I already had accounting experience as well as dealing with different systems. So one of the things that I really needed to make sure I dial in is onboard a platform that's going to help my trucking company scale. Little did I know that what I was looking for didn't really exist, because I onboarded 4 different platforms. And after, wasting my time, deboarding, then onboarding, pissing all my employees off all the time, chasing a vision that doesn't really exist, I decided to form a tech team in 2017 and built my own proprietary technology to be able to help my trucking company and logistics company as I envisioned. After building, this technology, proprietary technology, for 3 years, I realized no one has actually built anything for the carrier in the market. A lot of the platforms are out there, for shippers, visibility, freight brokerage, but carrier has been overlooked. And the reason I discovered that is because a lot of my friends who at that time, were running large trucking companies, they were asking me if they could use my platform because they really liked what I built by that time. And that's when I knew there's an opportunity. But in order for me to be able to scale this technology, multi-tenant technology, I had to figure out who is going to actually run, this IT department. And before looking for another partner to run the IT department, I spun out the technology company from my previous logistics and trucking company and named it Alvys. And after that, I partner up with someone who knows how to build industrial grade platforms, someone who knows how to build in the cloud. And together we embarked on this journey to build something that's never been built before for trucking companies.
Well, that's exciting, and I think what helps is you have roots in trucking. I think a lot of people in this industry, you either have roots in trucking, right, a family business or some other sort of intimate connection, or you stumble into it out of pure happenstance. And in my case, it was just I stumbled into it, but I embraced it, and it's a great industry, as you know. But in both cases, you and I think where there's a familiarity or parallel is that similarly, as an operator of my own company, recognizing the need for technology on the applicant tracking system side, I did the same thing, and it was first for my own business to scale. And I think that's the recipe for success. Certainly more so, a greater chance of success than an outsider, complete outsider, coming into the industry thinking that they know things that they just really don't. You as an insider, as a carrier, as a asset-based carrier and broker, knew some of the things that you wanted, and that's what you built. Um, just first of all, you mentioned you decided to name it Alvis, and I want to get more into exactly what Alvis is all about. But how did you come up with the name? Where did that come from?
Well, there's different aspects to how I came up with the name. Uh, I'm going to start with Alvis. It's pronounced Alvis. A lot of people want to pronounce it as Alvys because of the Y. I always tell them, think of Elvis. And we always like to say what Elvis did to rock and roll is what Alvis is doing to trucking space. That's one reference point. The second point, Alvis, as it's spelled, means being wise. You act wise. So we like to say our system acts wisely in the background while you run your business. That's the second meaning. And the third one, I always wanted to make sure from a marketing standpoint, Alvis, where the name starts with an A, and it has to be very short with a .com. So from a marketing point of view, I wanted to make sure that it's with an A. That way, we're always first when it comes to lists. At the same time, it has to be short, and I should be able to have access to the .com extension. So there's three aspects to it. One is it sounds like Elvis. What Elvis did to, or what Elvis did to rock and roll is what Elvis is doing to trucking space. Second, Elvis acts wisely. That's the meaning of the word Elvis. And third, it has to start with A, and it has to be very short.
Yeah, and well said, and that's interesting. And I think for those in the audience who listen, like, you have to think through those types of things, right? You have to consider the marketing aspect of it, and so that's genius. I appreciate you sharing that, and just again for the audience sake, do you mind sharing just a little about Alvis? You know, perhaps what differentiates you from some of the older, especially some of those legacy solutions out there.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a side note, Alvis has this hybrid solution or hybrid architecture, I call it. And what I mean by hybrid architecture, you're able to manage your freight as a carrier, but at the same time, if you need to broker out your overflow freight, we have this hybrid architecture where the same freight that's on your dashboard, you're able to broker out all while having different P&Ls. In other words, you're able to see how your brokerage is doing versus your carrier side of the business. And you do not have to log in or out into a different platform. Or sometimes you have platforms where you still need to log into a different module in order to run your brokerage business. With us, you don't need to log in and out multiple times. You log in once, you have everything in one dashboard, and every time you have overflow freight from your shippers, you're able to broker out seamlessly and efficiently. And at the same time, you have different P&Ls, and needless to say, one employee could actually transact both businesses, the freight brokerage business as well as the carrier business, which drives a lot of efficiencies at scale.
And there's a lot of functionality. I mean, and private fleets as well, too, right? It's not just for hire carriers. I know
Oh,
private fleets.
absolutely. Absolutely. So private fleet is one of our, uh, advantage when it comes to helping private fleets manage their assets. A lot of times they don't have a backhaul back to their yards or hubs, and we're helping them maximize their resources, maximize and utilize their assets properly. So anyone that has a trucking company, right? Anyone that has a truck is able to use Alvis to a point where they could overlap, whether they are a carrier for hire or a private fleet. At the same time, you can have the freight brokerage component. And even if you're a shipper, you're still able to segment that aspect of the business and take advantage of the fact that everything is in one unified dashboard.
Is there a particular fleet size that you find has the most success, or is that how broad is that?
So most of our fleet size companies are 10 trucks and higher. We have we have a lot of carriers that have hundreds of trucks in their fleet. We even have a carrier that has 1,000 trucks. We don't have that many that have under 10 trucks, even though we have a platform that's going to be able to help them grow. But as of right now, we noticed that most of the trucking companies that are onboarding Alvis are those that have 10 trucks or higher.
Probably a little bit more stability in that group. Plus, they're a little bit more sophisticated in recognizing the need to embrace and adopt technology so they can scale, I would
Absolutely,
assume.
absolutely, and there's a lot has to do with how they perceive, the market. At times, they might think, "Wow, Alvis has over 300 integrations. It's a very sophisticated platform. I don't think I'm going to be able to afford, and therefore I'm just going to look elsewhere, something that's targeted for a smaller carrier. And I understand their point of view. But at the same time, we focus on scale. So anyone that's thinking to scale fast, then Alvys is the solution, even if they only have 10 trucks.
Right. Right. You were also, we recently had their FreightWaves, I should say, recently had their F3 conference in Chattanooga, and I noticed that Alvis was a 2025 Freight Tech 100 company listed there. Does that, you know, what does that mean to you? Is that something that that you take some pride in?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I had for our company, for our organization, is to have our heads down. Don't come out until the product is somewhat complete. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with our product. I always want to push our team to deliver a better product. I care about our customers so much, and there's still other customers that want to see more things in Alvis, and we passionately pursue those goals to make sure that every single customer of us delights in our product. And as a result, we weren't really doing much marketing in the past, even though we've sponsored certain events, but nothing really so aggressive. I didn't even want to come out and speak about Alvis until I have some sort of a satisfaction. And again, satisfaction is a spectrum. As a lot of us at Alvis know that I demand perfection. It is hard, but I was a carrier, and I know how much business I lost because of the wrong platform, and I take this to heart. It's very important to me to make sure that what we need to deliver is delivered. But in my discovery, while building back in the days when I was building this proprietary technology for my trucking company, I realized I was a fool to think it's easy to build technology. I thought I'm just going to form a tech team, and at that time I formed a tech team. We hired almost 15 engineers, and I was confident enough I'll be able to tell me exactly what they need to do, and we're just going to deliver the technology we need. Come to find out, I was wrong. Apparently, I needed to find someone who knows how to build industrial grade platforms. So just because a lot of the Silicon Valley guys who don't know anything about our space, they come into the space and they fall short. Someone like myself, who has the passion for this industry, has the experience, will also fall short like I did. I have fallen short to actually deliver what I needed to deliver for our customers. So it's very important for the two school of thoughts to come by and build something that's never been built before. This is one of the reasons why no one was able to figure out how to solve the pain points for carriers. It's because you either have people from the industry who think they know how to build technology and they're going to hire engineers and tell them what to do, which, by the way, that's not going to happen. They will fall short. Or you have people from, a very sophisticated tech environment and experience. They just gather some feedback from the industry, and they think, oh, that's easy to solve. And when they start building, they also fall short. So the two have to marry in order to create what I call, a special experience, a special product that the market desperately needs.
Well, what do you say today? What's the biggest obstacle in the way of carriers embracing TMS technology or making a change from their current solution? What's the biggest obstacle for it?
Well, there's definitely many different ways of looking at it, and there's always different obstacles. But as I said before, we built our technology as a hybrid solution because any carrier that's scaling will have overflow freight, and we need to help them be able to broker out the freight. And because we built it as a hybrid solution, Consequently, we built a freight brokerage module. And in my experience, building a freight brokerage module is actually 10 times easier than it is to build a carrier operating system. And the reverse is also true. Running a freight brokerage is 10 times more complicated than running a trucking company. So it's very interesting how it flips when it comes to technology. So one of the biggest obstacles building a carrier operating system is how many different moving parts you have to put together to create that seamless, holistic experience for our customers. So it's easy to build things in silos, right? You could actually form, a tech team and have them build, a standalone product. But the reality is, trucking companies, they have to have multiple standalone products, and you have to integrate them together to create that unified solution. And that's where the problems begin. Is how do you make that as one solution? And one thing is to make that as one solution. Another thing is to make sure it's reliable and is bug free. So that's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is to break all those silos, unify everything together, and deliver one solution that's reliable and it actually works. And it's not driving people crazy that it bugs all the time. That's at the forefront of our company.
Well, I ask a lot of industry leaders on this show about like just the ongoing freight recession, and I ask if they feel like this downturn is worse than the Great Recession, 15 or so years ago. I also ask if or when they feel like we're going to eventually, climb out of this. What are your thoughts on this current environment, and what are you hearing from your customers?
I've said this multiple times. Predicting, timing is a very dangerous game. But at the same time, we could all be optimistic. Anything that goes down and stays down for too long will eventually come back up. But in order to actually compete, even in a down market, I believe efficiencies and optimizing your assets is very important. And one of the things that we build at Alvys to make sure we help our dispatchers optimize their workflows is the marketplace component. And I'll give you an example. We have multiple tenants that are freight brokers, and they're able to connect with the trucks that are in real time in Alvys. But at the same time, we also have different freight brokers that are injecting freight into Alvys. So not only that they are able to see where the truck is located today, right? They're also able to understand whether the truck is going to be available 2 days from now where they deliver. And if they deliver in Jacksonville, Florida, the broker that's ingesting freight over into Alvys, and let's say, for example, Uber Freight, since we've already completed the partnership with Uber Freight, and they're actually ingesting freight into Alvys, and they have a load 2 days from now from Jacksonville, in the case of our example, then they're going to be able to notify that carrier, hey, there's a truck that we see is going to be delivering in Jacksonville, Florida, and we also see that it doesn't have a load out of Jacksonville, Florida. Do you wish to bid on this lane, or do you wish to take it for this rate? And that's how they're going to be able to transact the business, seamlessly, and they're going to be able to bid. And once they come to a consensus and agree to take, a partnership or do the load, at this time, all Alvys does is populate that same information from Uber Freight into Alvys. You don't have to build anything. Everything is covered. Your dispatcher comes to work and they see, oh, wow, that truck is already covered 2 days from now out of Jacksonville. That's called efficiency. So in order for us to be able to compete in a down market, something this complicated has to be built in the background in order to help the carriers thrive in this environment.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and you nailed it on efficiency. And the point that you made earlier is, look, you're not a prognosticator. You don't know when things are going to get better. You don't have control over that. But what you do have control over is how you're going to respond. And you respond by building more efficient technology, making it easier for the end user so they can thrive. So that's exciting. I mean, I think that's a stoic mindset too, is what I've been reading a lot about, is just the importance of controlling what you can control and understanding what you cannot. Um, do you mind giving us maybe a sneak peek into what we can expect from Alvys in 2025 and beyond? Anything you able to share?
Yeah. So absolutely. I've already mentioned before, marketplace is an interesting component, and it's not to replace anyone. It's really helping our current tenants transact business with the tenants that are already in Alvis, and at the same time, getting companies like Uber Freight or other freight brokers injecting freight into our system, so they're able to get additional capacity that's validated in Alvis. That's actually going to help the industry broadly, but at the same time, it's going to help the carrier that's using Alvis, where their dispatchers, instead of dealing with thousands of different data per hour, they're going to be able to get help from Alvis, because we're going to be able to match it seamlessly, and we're going to surface only the freight that's important to their available trucks that are going to deliver, let's say, a day or 2 days from now. And that's a very exciting module that we have just recently launched. And to be honest, we had to build many other things in order for this to be possible. So it took us years and years of building different workflows, integrating with different platforms, in order for us to be able to unlock the possibility of creating this seamless transaction between available freight and available empty truck.
I think that's super cool, and hopefully that even helps drive more new customers, new users to the TMS, just because of that availability and the recognition that this is an option. So, first, thank you so much for joining me, Nick. I appreciate your passion, your ingenuity for leveling up the trucking industry with more modern technology, and I wish you a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the higher road with me. Once again, special thanks to the sponsors of the show. We really appreciate you. If you're interested in being a sponsor or joining me for an interview, please email Jeremy at takingthehigherroad.com. Until next time, thank you for taking the higher road.